Good morning. It is Sunday morning. It's about, let's see, Apple Watch. I think it's about, yes, almost 9 o'clock. Some thunderstorm possible today around Lake Tahoe. Some heat advisories. A lot of them have been dropped for the Bay Area specifically, but there's still some left around the state, Southern California and Northern California. Red flag warnings, a possibility. And those thunderstorms, the monsoonal moisture, this is the first real monsoonal moisture event we've seen this season, the most robust. In other words, more than a couple of days. Watch this. This is Lake Tahoe. This is yesterday. You'll see the cloud build up. Afternoon, boom, right? That's going to happen again today. This is from Bliss State Park. And then it's overnight, and it'll bring us up to the current. And when we get back to current, you're going to see the moisture, the subtropical moisture that is present first thing in the morning. It's almost already raining. So we're going to see that again today. If you were up at Lake Tahoe yesterday, you know what I'm talking about. The thunder bumpers were pretty aggressive. Again, flying into Truckee, flying into South Lake Tahoe, flying into Reno, you're going to have some bumps for sure with this monsoonal moisture. So another day, maybe another 2 days of this activity in the area. So we'll take a peek at the actual moisture plume. Good morning, by the way. I don't know how much stuff. I usually don't do these on Sunday morning, but I kind of want to get something on the books, and then we'll, get something on the books, and I'll go enjoy my day. Here is the fog and low clouds from this morning. Let me see if I can pull this in. I don't want that. I want this. Thanks for bearing with me. So you see the marine layer. Look how much deeper it is, right? So what's today going to be? It's going to be a little cooler. How do I know it's deeper? Because look at that, how far inland that fog has gone, right? So this is, again, 9 o'clock in the morning or approximately. And then you can always tell fog by the contour, the way it contours to the landscape. And then here, these areas, those are higher clouds over the fog, and you see the shadow being cast by the sun that's just come up, the shadow being cast on the west side of the clouds, indicating texture, indicating vertical. And then you see you don't see a lot of texture well, you do see good texture, but this is all that subtropical moisture that's coming up from the North American monsoon. And this in the area, it's already, see that area right there, that big bump? You can see that. That's going to be a pretty good cell here in the next few hours, and it's not even warming up. So this whole area is going to be a hotbed for thunder and lightning today, which is very typical for this time of year. The watches and warnings have been removed for much of the Central Bay Area, but down towards Fresno, you still have a extreme heat warning, King City, down towards Bakersfield. But overall, let me zoom out a little bit. Overall, you can see the West Coast it's kind of gotten a little better. Now, you do have up towards Bear Valley, you have a flash flood watch for today because of what happened yesterday and that thunderstorm activity that I showed you. These are the current temperatures. This is, let's see, and the reason I point these out is let's go right to the foothills. Let's find I think I saw an 80 degree up here the other moment. Okay, so just east of Elk Grove, you've got a 80 degree reading in Westover Field. It's an airport. 80 degrees right now. The overnight low was 76 degrees. Why do you care about the overnight low? So when the overnight low stays warm, so you're in the mid 70s, upper 70s, overnight in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada, you're not allowing for fuel moistures to recover at all, or temperatures to cool at all, and for things just to mellow out. It's going to start off hot, it's going to start off dry, and the correlation between overnight lows and fire starts the next day, undeniable. So we'll see fires today, for sure. For sure we'll see fires. Freeway fires most likely, just somebody tossing a cigarette out, something like that. But just be aware that the general pattern is such that we're not, they're going to crush it. They're just going to crush it like they've been crushing all the fires. Here's another example of, let's see, 85 degrees right now just outside of Bakersfield. This is a place called Woody. The min temp last night was 76. And it's already up to 85 degrees. So it's going to be something to behold this afternoon. This is the fog from Mount Tamalpais. And you can see it's a little bit deeper. We talked about that. First thing, we looked at the visible satellite. Now we're looking at a live camera. Remember all that fog? I said it was contoured to the hills. Well, this is a little deeper. Mount Tam's over 2,500 feet. we're looking now. So I'd call that, that looks like 1,800 foot marine depth. Profiler's been down. That's why I'm not showing it to you. So just, okay, well, there it is. So okay, that makes sense. And you can see Monterey Mountain down here. See how it's barely showing up down towards Pacifica? And you've seen this. I show this camera a lot only because it really, for millions of us, this dictates how the day goes. Deeper marine layer, milder pattern. Not going to be 100-degree temperatures in Concord today. It's going to be low 90s. These are the forecast highs for today. And still very warm, still quite pleasant. It's still very summer-like, but along the coastal sections, exactly what you would expect. In the interior, Buck 2 in Bakersfield, 103 in Redding, 84 up towards, Reno. They got Reno at like 88. I guess I'd buy that. 84, 82 up in Truckee. And then down the desert Southwest. And we still have heat advisories as well, which is appropriate. So what have I just said? It's a great question. What did I just say? Okay. These are, what I just said was we're kind of mellowing out in terms of temperatures. There's going to be fire stuff today. There's going to be fire stuff until we get the first rains, but that overnight low was very warm last night, especially in the foothills. So you're going to see some fire starts, but they are going to crush. The fire we've been watching is the Picket fire, which grew up quickly. They put a bunch, like 5 Black Hawk helicopters on it last night and over 1,000 hand crews. So they are really doing a great job getting this thing down. It's 11% contained, almost 7,000 acres. Let's see if I can get a good picture of it in here. And you can kind of see it. You can see that's just a still cam, but you can see it's definitely, this was yesterday, obviously, but they're definitely getting a handle on it. And it's burning in a place, they're running the ridge lines with this a lot. In other words, this thing burned up through a valley, and the CAL FIRE and Forest Service are working those ridge lines, obviously, right? Because fire burns uphill. If you can contain it, they like to contain it into these valleys. And that you don't contain it down at the low end of a valley, you contain it at the ridge lines. This is looking towards the north, kind of northwestish a little bit. Mount St. Helena there. And we can see, this is smoke from the fire. You're like, okay, Bill, let's look at it yesterday. We'll go through the whole 24 hours. You see the smoke plume, very smoky. This is yesterday, blows up. See that canyon it's in and how the ridgelines aren't burning? And this is fire efforts overnight. I know it's kind of jerky. And then this will be this morning. You'll see the smoke. Remember I said about how smoke settles down, right? In the morning, the inversion just drops. The cooler air sinks. And so you've got this smoke that just sinks down with it. And so the air quality in places like Angwin and parts of the North Napa Valley are getting it's kind of skanky. Now, it's not widespread, but like Angwin, for instance, that's bad, right? 596 parts per million. That's bad. But you can see there's not a high population out in this area. Calistoga itself, not really experiencing much in terms of the air quality issues. So really overall, things are going good. Things are going good on that fire, I think. Again, what would be tough is if you saw a wind event. And that's what we're going to do now is we'll look at the smoke right now. So this is the Picket fire here. This is the forecast for smoke. And you kind of see it right over Angwin. And it really is the smoke is more kind of into Arbuckle, Williams, Esparto, a little bit up into Lakeport and Lake County. So, and then you can see the smoke around the rest of the state. Not too bad. Smoke model. Is it super accurate? Gives you a good idea. I think it's not horribly precise, but it's smoke model. Smoke's hard. It's hard because clouds you can kind of, right, there's temperature, dew point. Smoke's a whole nother deal, man. So it's a lot harder to forecast. Good morning. What's going on with the weather? We're going to be about the same today as we were yesterday, temperature-wise. We're going to continue on with this pattern. I'll show you what I mean. So here is the vorticity map. Here we are. And you can see the kind of the bullseye here where the high is breaking down. That high breaks down. You see all that orange, yellow, and green coming through California. That's just instability. That's that subtropical moisture, vertical velocities, convection, which is happening the next couple of days. And then that sort of clears out, and we get this guy here starting to influence our weather, that upper level low, right? So this is so far, and then look at this guy. This is interesting here. See that big low spinning off here? That's September 1st. That's interesting. Then it retrogrades. When see how it goes backwards, that's retrograding. That's just it's a fancy way to say it's going the other way. Usually, right, everything flows from west to east. This thing's dropping in, and then the ridge bumps it out and pushes it back out a little bit according to the model. And then that's a pretty significant, see the bullseye right there? That's September 3rd. That would be some heat for sure. Keep an eye on that. That's, boy, yeah. See, the other thing too I would point out, and again, this is a little bit fantasy land, but see how the rotation around this low is, let me show you this. This low is like counterclockwise, right? So what it does is, this is the upper level winds I'm pointing out, it pumps up this ridge, the air, because that's the flow around the low. It pumps the ridge up and actually can increase it, especially when it backs out, that retrogrades. So my take on that is that looks like could be a very warm period. Yeah, but this low, so the low cuts off. That's the other thing. When the low cuts off, the models struggle a little bit. So that could easily not happen. But if it does happen, September 1, 2, and 3 were pretty, wow, that's a pretty hot little run. It'd be interesting around the first week in September. That we'll keep your thought on that one. That could be a kind of a very warm, very hot period. Here is the monsoonal moisture. This is the other big story besides the fires, which are going great. The monsoonal moisture. This is probably the most prolific moisture plume we've seen coming from the Gulf of California this season. In terms of, it's not awesomely huge. It's just that it's consistent over a couple of days. We haven't really seen that. We've seen bits and pieces. Now we're seeing like kind of a North American monsoon interacting. This is precipitable water, which just says, hey, look, see the blues and the dark greens? That means there's water in the area. So if there's any dynamics, sun heating the ground, right, which there will be, right, convection, then you're going to get yourself some activity. And then you see it's really aggressive down towards Bishop. But there's enough. So this takes us through Tuesday afternoon, and then it clears out, okay? So through Tuesday afternoon, pretty dry, monsoon moisture. So the next couple wow, how dry it gets. I'm just going through the whole deal. And then, ooh, look at that. Wow. That's amazing. That's a big plume of moisture. That's almost like something off a tropical storm down towards Indio. Anyway, there's moisture available the next couple of days. So this is HRRR. This is this afternoon, rapid update model, hour by hour. And you're in Lake Tahoe, you're in the west slope of the Sierra Nevada. This is pretty aggressive stuff. Yesterday was too. So this is about the peak of it right here. And so you can kind of see Lake Tahoe, Mount Shasta, Almanor, Lake Shasta. I think I say Lake Shasta, Mount Shasta, Big Bear or Bear Valley, Winnemucca, Ruby Mountains. That's Reno. That's some big stuff. That's like a lot like yesterday's footprint. And then we run through it and it kind of dies off as the night goes on. So tomorrow or today, a lot like yesterday for mountain monsoonal thunderstorms. So you're already looking at clouds. So you know, right? When you wake up in Heavenly Valley or South Lake Tahoe or Rubicon or any of those areas, and you look up and you see big puffy clouds at 9 in the morning, it's on, man, especially this time of year, right? Because the ground's going to get hot, the air's going to rise, that moisture is going to interact with the rising air, expanding air. This is the forecast for the next few days. This is our North America model. I'm going to go right to this afternoon. So there we go. There's 101 in Sacramento, 99 in Redding, 105 in Bakersfield. That's today, okay? But you see cooler along the coast. So this pattern, this is what we get today. This is what we had yesterday, this footprint. And this footprint will manage itself into tomorrow too, in the next few days. And you'll see that. So here's Monday afternoon. Same thing, a little cooler, right? Look at that bite of marine air. It takes a chunk out of that 100, right? Okay, so that's Tuesday. And then we're just looking for they're a little bit cooler on Tuesday afternoon, pardon me. Oh, that was Monday afternoon. That's Tuesday afternoon. So you see what I'm saying? All I'm saying, I'm just trying to illustrate, it's kind of mild. Next week looks kind of mild. Not like, it's still going to be in the mid 90s, and 92 in Concord, 93, 98 in Sacramento, 100 in Redding, but it's not going to be sweltering weird. Here's that monsoonal moisture coming in. That's a lot of it. And what can you see here? What can you pick out? I can pick out, first thing I see is I see this low. That's that low that we were talking about that's going to retrograde at some point. Here's the monsoonal moisture flow. Here's obviously a low here, right? That thing's spinning off there. And then you've got all this subtropical activity trying to form into tropical storms. What happens when they get a little further, like this area looks really productive. I haven't checked this invest, but this area, as it moves north, it encounters the jet stream. That's why hurricanes don't make it very far north, because when they go up so high in the atmosphere and they're so large, they're heat exchange, but they start out down here like this guy's starting. I don't know if you can see that. But as it gets further north, the jet stream, which is in this region right now, shears it apart, and you can see it shearing it apart there. Hurricanes like sort of quiet upper atmospheric climate, so that's why the equator, the jet stream's pretty far north of the equator. That's why they like to form down around the equator. Just a little bit of nugget stuff. So when they get, that's why they don't get, that's why aren't there hurricanes in San Francisco or in New York or whatever? Remnants show up oftentimes, but you don't get full-blown hurricane typically, or ever. So there's our stuff. Here's the forecast for today. What did I do yesterday? Just clean out the van. I've been doing that thing you do when these are the highs for today, just nationwide. Doing that thing you do when you get back from a trip and you just kind of go through all your junk and just start trying to clean, because everything gets all, I got one of those big Sprinter vans. So everything just gets all kind of akimbo, right? So it takes me like 3 days to get my stuff right again. These are the 6, 10 day outlook. So it looks like it's above average, which that's interesting. I'm not sure I'm buying that based on that low, but if that low retrogrades, I guess it would pop up the temperatures. Yeah, okay, no, I would buy that because we did see that. You're right. Okay, good. I like that. And then this is the precipitation, which is about average, a little above average in the Pacific Northwest. And okay, I'll go with that. And then this is the model for the surf. You can see North America. I think you can see North America right here, right? And then this is wave height. Normally I do swell energy, but I did wave height because I just wanted you to see, if you keep your eyes, you can see where all the waves are, big waves down in the southern hemisphere. It's winter. And then along the California coast, keep your eyes there. A little yellow, there's something comes out of the northwest. That's a northwest swell. And then there's that south, see that little spinner coming up the coast? That would be a dying tropical storm. And then look at what's happening here. This is Friday, next Friday. Look at that. That's pretty impressive for this time of year. So wave heights, or you could equate that to a storm. So there's activity up there that's starting. Oh wow, that's a good northwest swell for us coming up on the 5th of September. So we'll keep an eye on that. Here are the fog conditions at San Francisco's Ocean Beach. I remember when they did the first Burning Man. They used to do the Burning Man stuff out at Ocean Beach. It was hilarious back in the 80s. We used to go surfing down there. We'd come down in the morning, and Burning Man wasn't Burning Man. I don't know a lot about Burning Man. I just know when I'd go surfing in the morning, like in the late or mid 80s, early 80s, they would be like banging gongs and doing like weird like stuff, like hitting each other with pillows and stuff. And then that evolved into Burning Man, or so the legend goes. And there were a lot of them. But anyway, Ocean Beach, I've seen it all, especially when you walk down there early in the morning. I mean, besides the people sleeping on the beach, and because it's an urban area around. There's like millions of people live close to the beach. So on a Friday or Saturday morning at the beach, you'd see everything. Here is Cardiff. Looks like they're doing some work, must be moving sand around or something. And the swell's kind of small. Swells stay small. This is Mount Shasta. And this is right now, or no, this is yesterday. So that you'll see the cloud build up. It's going to do the same thing today. And then you'll see the thunderstorms come through, right? Yeah, didn't really thunderstorm. Yeah, it will today. And then here's right now. It's coming through tonight and going on tomorrow morning. And then you see that subtropical moisture already in the area. I love Mount Shasta. Nice, one of my favorite parts of California. This is Mount Whitney. my other favorite part of California. Let's see what we can do there. Let's do 24 hours. I think Whitney, I don't know, I haven't looked at this camera. This would be the thunderstorms from yesterday. Oh yeah, a little bit. It's a desert though, right? So that most of it falls out on the west side, but okay, last night, cars, and then this morning. Yeah, oh, it's pretty. Yeah, I just get a little seasick on that one. Okay, no puffins today because their camera, because the surf is too big from Hurricane Erin. This is Monterey Bay, and what do I spy? Is that a little baby seal? I think that's a little baby seal or otter. That's a little baby seal. Oh, huh. That's a little teeny one. Okay. This is at the aquarium. I love what they do. And seabirds. Yeah, but look how big that bird is. That's a seagull. And look how big the seagull is compared to that little baby seal. Oh, jeez. This is the time of year when the white sharks show up too, because that's what they like. They like baby seals. Oh, he went in. Huh. That's awesome. Okay, well, there you go. And then we've got, what else we got for you? Nature snacks. We did weather, remember? I think we're in good shape. Oh, this is where the puffins were. Let's see if I can find any. They just got hammered by the surf. It's come down a little bit, but this is Hurricane Erin went by off the coast and just loading up. Puffins are funny, man, because they can, like, they live out in the water anyway. Most of their life is spent out at sea floating around. That's what they do. So they're fine, kind of going out. I wonder if I got the bears. Where did my bears go? I'm going to go to them. Hang on. Let's see if I can do this. Brooks Bears. I thought I had it in there, you guys. Sorry. I'm kind of Sunday today, aren't I? Very Sunday. Let's see what we got. Oh, hello. Somebody's working the camera. That's awesome. Let's see if I refresh feed. Let's see what we got. That might be highlights. No, that's a bear. God, they are getting so fat. When you talk about, you know what that would cost us to get that much sushi? I mean, how good is that? It's good. It's good to me, like raw salmon. So I'm assuming. Oh my God, that's awesome. Okay, so we did everything. Fire danger's up. Thunderstorms tonight. What did we learn today? We talked about retrograding lows and how that low actually in the upper atmosphere as it bumps east, will pump up, as it retrogrades, has the ability to pump up the ridge, and that's where that little heat event might be coming from. Here's the food chain too, brother. Look at that. The seagull's getting in on it. All right. Well, listen, I hope you have a great day. Did see Dad yesterday. He passed, so that might be why I seem a little bit not perfect. Never seem perfect. We'll talk about it at some other time. But at 98, come on, man, it was an awesome run. Okay, appreciate everything. We'll talk to you. How about I talk to you tomorrow? See ya.